Snowgoer Live, brought to you by Snowgoer Magazine and snowgoer.com. From sled reviews to breaking news, riding destinations to gear evaluations, Snowgoer is snowmobiling. Now, here's our host, Snowgoer editor John Prusak.
Welcome, everybody, to Snowgoer Live, where we plan to bring you some of the most interesting people and stories in the sport of snowmobiling. Recently, Norway's Elias Ishul wrapped up his fourth consecutive points championship on the ISOC AMSOIL Championship Snocross Series. That led to an extensive discussion here at the Snowgoer headquarters over where this young racer fits versus the best snowcross racers who have ever tried the sport. And that in turn led to a much larger project, as things around here usually do, where we pulled dozens of snowcross industry insiders and then dug into some statistics and came up with our own list of the top 10 snowcross racers of all time. Coming in at number 10 on our list was Dennis DJ Eckstrom, a strong and consistent performer who raced for multiple brands and wowed the crowds in the late 90s and the early 2000s. We're lucky enough to speak with him today to relive some memories and get caught up on his current life. Let's bring him into the conversation. And joining us right now, the driver of the number 25 out of Duluth, Minnesota, Dennis DJ Eckstrom. How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing good.
Good. Long time no see. I hope you're enjoying life and still enjoying snowmobiles in one way or another.
Yes, I sure am. I like to still ride, and we go out and do a little mountain riding and ride with my kid and friends and family and stuff. So I certainly do still enjoy it.
Fabulous. Well, let's back way up. Now we first met you when you actually joined us at Road Reports. I think was the first time I met you way back in I think you were about 17 years old when you came with us as a racer for Yamaha then. Tell us how you got into snowcross in the first place and kind of how you ended up in this crazy world.
So basically my story goes, I used to race dirt bikes as a kid. I started that when I was 10 years old. I always wanted to kind of my dream was a professional dirt bike racer like every kid does.
Yeah.
I grew up on snowmobiles. We had basically a bunch of old ones around the house. My dad was always into them. And then of course, being from Duluth, there was always the big giant snowcross race up at Spirit Mountain. So I remember being a kid and kind of watching that. And I actually got to be really good buddies with Carl Shabitsky. So we both, hung out and kind of rode dirt bikes, raced together. He started racing. I wanted to try it. So long story short, we both started kind of doing that up at Spirit Mountain and we both did well. So
yeah,
story goes, started getting some help and some sponsorships and winning a little bit of money and stuff like that. So from there, it just kind of took off and, I kind of realized, hey, I'm pretty good at this. And it was kind of a passion, what I wanted to do. So that's kind of how it took off and how it got started.
Okay. So how old were you when you turned pro? Were you just like 18 or 19 years old?
Oh gosh, I want to say I was a senior in high school, I think, the year I went pro, like when I signed pro. My junior or sophomore year and junior year, I was racing semi-pro for Yamaha and then Arctic Cat. And then I think in 2000, I signed with Sharing Speed Sports for, my first kind of large contract. So
right. Okay.
Right out of high school, basically.
Okay. Now, we did this, top 10 drivers of all time, a poll. Did it two different ways. We did it among, former race directors and current race directors and race team owners and media people and different insiders. We also did one with the fans that's separate from this. But whenever you were nominated by the Snowcross insiders, if you will, they always talked about how consistent you were, how you were always on the podium. One of the things that's difficult about putting together that top 10 list is nobody has really good statistics through the whole era. But Greg Kramer, the former announcer, did a great job of cataloging the 97 to probably 2003 era. And in that era, other than Tucker and Blair, nobody had more podiums than you did. What do you think led to that? What led to that level of consistency where you were always making finals when there were so many guys just trying to qualify for finals and always so far up there by the end of the race?
Yeah, I guess, it's a good question. I was pretty consistent, like when I was a little kid, I was always taught not to break the snowmobile. So I think maybe that helped. I mean, when I actually first started racing, I had to realize, I got to go for it. So, but I would say, pretty smooth on a snowmobile. So that maybe led to, consistency in races. just being cautious on the track. And I guess I don't know. I just always wanted to win. So that led to, being up front or trying to be in that top 3 position. And then obviously in a race for a team, you realize the importance of being up there on the podium and finishing that, because it's great for the sponsors and for the whole team morale and for everything. So that's probably what led to it. And I guess I don't know, it's hard to say. It's just that's what I did.
Yeah, you certainly weren't a checkers or wreckers kind of guy where it was go for it at all costs. I mean, we certainly saw plenty of those guys come through the sport that rode maybe a little bit more on the edge. You were fast but controlled, is how I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. It seemed like I just always wanted to stay on the sled, finish, versus crashing or, and there's times when you got to go for it, and there's times when, stuff doesn't always go right. I mean, you've seen plenty of crashes and, over the years, and I've had plenty of my moments, and, that's going to happen. But all in all, I just always wanted to finish up front and, go for the win, or go for the, at least being in the top 3 towards the end of the race.
So looking back now, you've been retired certainly for a number of years. What year did you retire?
Gosh, I think it was 2009, if I remember back. Yeah, it was my last season.
So looking back now at it, what would you consider the highlights? What are the moments that stick in your brain the most, where you felt like you were on top of the world racing?
Well, obviously winning's, number one. When you win a race, it feels great. But man, the highlights for me, I'd have to say there were moments when, like I said, growing up and wanting to do something like that, and when you actually become a professional at it. And when I was a kid, I used to go up to the Snocross races and watch guys like Kirk Hibbert, Brad Paik, all the guys, Chris Vincent, the list goes on. And in those years when I became professional, I remember like lining up. I mean, Blair Morgan's there, Tucker was younger, but coming up on the scene. I mean, it was a playing field that was unbelievable with talent. So, I mean, there was moments when I actually caught myself like sitting at the starting line in Spirit Mountain thinking, holy crap, like how did I get here? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So that was cool. And then big highlights, obviously winning, like Spirit Mountain was a big race. Like I said, and you remember that over the years, like everybody came there. It was such a big event, and to win there was huge. So I think definitely highlights of my career were winning my hometown race, which I think was 2005 and 6 in Pro Open. So that was cool. Obviously other big events like X Games was fun, getting medals out there and, sharing that hype and experience was pretty cool. Other highlights for me, traveling around, like just all the experiences that came with it, meeting you at 17 years old, being at the road reports, stuff like that was just huge life experiences that I look back at it now and how fun was that. And, to get the opportunity to do stuff like that was pretty cool.
I think the other thing that a lot of people forget is that oftentimes the people you race against become, part of your social circle, because these are people you're seeing every weekend. And so, people get to know who's cooking out food on Saturday night and who's doing what on Sunday and things like that. And it becomes you had family who traveled with you, but aside from that, the entire group becomes a family.
Well, you're absolutely right in that aspect too. Like, me starting off as a little kid, basically, I had guys in the sport that helped me get to where I was. I was close with Tim Mackey. He helped a lot. He was a little older than me. And I met so many good people along the way. And like you said, exactly, it turns into kind of like, a lot of people are friends and family, and I still talk to and see a lot of those people to this day. So that's pretty cool. Other aspects, there's guys you don't really talk to. Like I remember racing with Blair, and man, we were neck and neck like a lot of times, and he was quiet, I was quiet. But now I see him, I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? It's just, when you're kind of out there on the track battling, it's a different story. But, you just realize, the talent level and, the amount of good people that I met over the years was pretty awesome.
So, obviously when we're putting together our top 10 list, it's the top 2 are pretty straightforward. There's a lot of people, Tucker, Blair, Tucker, whatever the order is, but there's the top 2. But can you think of anybody that you raced against that, maybe somebody who just made a couple appearances or something, or it doesn't have to be that, but somebody that you were just wowed by, that you're like, wow, that person can ride?
There was so many of them, John, honestly, like that's a tough question to answer. I mean, I have my moments when I think back. I mean, obviously Blair, Tucker, that always comes to mind, where those guys would wow me on a daily basis when I was on the track with them. And there's times, we were battling just for the lead all the time. And so that talent was there. But I mean, at a given time, when you lined up on the track, any guy could win, getting the right start. So, I mean, there's guys like Nathan Titus,
Yeah.
Kirk Hibbert, those guys, like, with wow factor, like, holy man, they knew so much about snowmobiles and could ride a snowmobile so well. And the list goes on and on. I hate to even forget anybody, because like you say, it's like, how do you put a pinpoint on it? There's so many moments that, I probably can't even remember, but if I really thought back, I could, so that's tough. I mean, there's, like I said, the talent was so good. It was tough. Levi was great. TJ Gula, all of them are so talented. It's just crazy to put a finger on, like, any name out there. So,
especially in the late 90s, I'm kind of a statistical geek, so I kept a lot of the like heat sheets and stuff like that. And so to just go back and look at, when there was 32 entries sometimes in a given class, and look at the people who didn't even make the LCQ, who I remember as being great racers, but they didn't even make the LCQ on a given weekend. And it was amazing the crew of racers you went up against, and the people that would pop up every now and then and have a fabulous weekend, but then maybe the next 3 weekends they wouldn't even make the final, but they had that week where they were just had the bit.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. And I mean, I remember how tough it was to make some of those finals. You had to be on your A game. You couldn't mess up. You couldn't, so you're exactly right. Like, it was just, the playing field was a good one. It was tough. It was fun. It was very exciting, and those were some good years, put it that way.
Yeah. So once you retired, what part of the entire racing or being on the road or whatever, what did you miss the most? What did you look back on the next few winters and think, man, if I could just be out there again?
Yeah, I miss, obviously being competitive like that. Like, there's part of you that, I'm a quiet person, but I guess when, I turn that on and that excitement or adrenaline gets going. So part of me missed that, the travel, seeing people, that change. I didn't, see a lot of people on the scene anymore. I had little kids at the time. So it was like, oh, I got to transition into, life and career and work. And so there's parts of that I missed. There's parts I didn't miss. You get to an age where you're getting pretty beat up and sore and tired. And so, it was all good, but I do miss, some of the experiences and the travel, and just honestly racing, that's the biggest part of it. Like, that's why I did it, was because I love to do that. So.
You'd mentioned Tim Mackey earlier. He's come with us to our road reports the last few years and done some test riding for us and been our photo model and stuff. He's still hill climb racing, or he has been the last few years. You look at somebody like Justin Tate, who is still doing enduros and cross countries and stuff, and these Ironmen who well into their 40s or a few of them even beyond, they're still competing. Have you ever thought about getting back into it, or when you shut it down, it was like, okay, I'm shutting her down?
Competitive level, it's pretty tough at this age, and I still love the sport. We were just out 3 weeks ago riding with Timmy out in Steamboat Springs, so did a little mountain ride, and he took us out and basically kind of guides us. And I was wowed by his skills on a mountain sled. I was like, holy man, Tim, you have gotten really good. So that was kind of cool to see, and we had a blast out there. So I'm getting back into that, just kind of seeing guys I want to see and going out and just enjoying it. The competitive aspect, I guess I don't see myself doing that right now, but I still do love to ride, and I have a bunch of snowmobiles, and I won't stop doing that. That's for sure.
As far as the racing side of it, do you keep in contact with it in any way? Do you go to a couple races a year or something, or is it?
I try to. So pretty good friends with Matt Judnick and Anthony Judnick. Their dad still runs the Judnick Motorsports team for Polaris, and so I go support those guys and support everybody who was at Canterbury this year. And obviously used to go up to Duluth here and there and watch. So don't have a lot of extra time, but I like following that, seeing how those teams do, and kind of watching it and supporting them. So.
Sure. Well, to wrap it up, let's talk about what you're doing today and what's keeping you so busy. Talk about your business that you're running, your family. What keeps DJ busy today?
So it keeps me busy. I'm running a business that does epoxy floor coatings. So I've grown that for, I think, 8 years now or 9. So each year we grow a little bit, and it's getting busier and busier. So it's just kind of a different world than what I did in the past, obviously, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy doing quality work and, trying to grow a business. So that's kind of like my new goal or careers or, stuff like that, is to try to just keep getting bigger and bigger. My
Sure.
kids are great. I have a 13-year-old son, Ashton, 15-year-old daughter, Layla. So we spend time out the lake, do boating. So it's always kind of work hard, play hard
Yep.
type of deal. So
If the current version of you could talk to the 14-year-old or 15-year-old version of you and give you some advice of getting into the sport, and really with this advice you're talking to kids today, but let's pretend like you're talking to yourself. What advice would you have for somebody that says, I want to be a snowcross racer?
I guess my best advice would be, you can pretty much do anything you put your mind to. I'm a firm believer in that. If you try hard enough and, stick with it, it's not going to be an easy road, but if you have enough passion for it and you enjoy it, you'll get somewhere with it. So that'd be my best advice. And other advice would be, it is a lot of work. It is very, very fun, but you certainly can achieve it if you set your mind to it.
I've been watching some of the videos online recently of some of the races from back in the day, and it's amazing the level of injuries. Back then, I would think even more so than compared to the current time. I don't know if that's a reflection of the machines have gotten that much better. At the time, when you were racing them, those were cutting edge machines and they were the best thing available. Right. You looked at people who raced 10 years earlier than you as being, savages for racing on what they raced on. Do you look back and say, God, I wish I had the equipment these boys have today?
Oh man, like I honestly, when I watch these races, these guys are going so fast, it is unbelievable. Yeah. And I watched some old videos of when we were out there with, the trailing arm sleds and the older, we were going fast on those things, but the technology has gotten so amazing that, when they're just wide open, and these machines are so good these days. So when you talk about injuries, that probably does escalate, because what happens is you're going so fast and hitting this stuff so fast that, unfortunately, you end up getting hurt from time to time. So I'm sure that's probably more common, but it sounds like a very positive thing is that they got a lot of help at the racetracks with the medical staff and crews nowadays. So that sounds pretty awesome, and that's come a long ways too. So
I just watch these videos and again, comparing that era to this era, when you guys would land, it would look like a bag of cement landing on the track every time. It would just clap out the suspension and stuff, and these guys just drift over stuff. It's certainly more beautiful with the machines that they have today than what you guys had. But again, what you guys had compared to 10 years earlier, it was all relative.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. Even some of these just trail sleds nowadays, I laugh. I'm like, man, these are better than what I used to race on.
Yeah,
like it's unbelievable how far the industry has come in the last 10 years. So pretty cool.
10 years from now, we'll look back on what we're riding today and go, how do we get around in those things? That's insane.
Right.
All right. Well, we sure appreciate you joining us. Congratulations on being voted a top 10 racer by the crew of insiders and experts. Your career warranted that. So it was, you earned that spot years ago, and it's good to hear that people still remember you as being that level of racer.
Well, thanks, John. I appreciate that. And it's an honor to be a part of it. And it was just an honor to do it and, have the career I had. So I feel blessed and lucky for that, and just had a lot of fun with it.
Perfect. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you on the trail or out at Tim's place in Steamboat one of these days.
For sure. We'll have to get together.
Perfect. All right. Thanks again.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, see you.